Welcome to Whisky.com. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning, and I'm the master taster of Whisky.com. And today I brought a Benromach Sassicaia Finish with me, and it's distilled in 2004 and bottled in 2013. The ABV is quite odd. It's 45% alcohol by volume, and this bottle comes out of casks which were at first matured in first fill ex-bourbon casks, and then for a second period of 18 months they had a finishing period, a second maturation in Sassicaia wine casks. Sassicaia, what's that? Sassicaia is an Italian red wine, and the name comes from the Italian word sassi, which means stony. And if you travel through the Italian Alps, you always see those warning signs, caduta sassi, which means warning, stonefall. And so this stony soil where the grapes were planted, this stony soil gave the name to the Sassicaia wine. The Sassicaia wine region is in the Tuscany area, close to the sea, and it was developed to the end of the Second World War. The French weren't able to deliver the wanted red wine. Yeah, the Germans were there, quite difficult. So they developed the French wine, and Parker gave the Sassicaia 85, 100 points. Yes. In the meantime, bottles are quite expensive, 1,600 euros a bottle. But quality degrades, and Parker reduced the rating about a few points. Sassicaia, these casks are from fresh wines, not older than 2 or 3 years. So there was a good wine perhaps in it, but not this very expensive wine. The Sassicaia wine is told to be quite sweet and fruity. Benromach is a... when I visited Benromach in 1998, I think, they were just in the process of restarting. The distillery at Forres, which is in the very heart of the Speyside, was closed down for several years, or tens of years. I think they stopped production during the big British recession in the early 80s. And then the independent bottler Gordon MacPhail from the town of Elgin, which is close by, bought this distillery right in their front yard and built it up again in very few steps without a lot of external money. So it's a family-owned business older than 100 years, and they built the distillery up again, and now they are proud to say that this distillery is the smallest distillery in the Speyside. Speyside is part of the Highland region, and there are others in the Highland, particular one which is smaller than Benromach, but Benromach is the smallest distillery in Speyside. I forgot something here in the back. They say it's a handcrafted whiskey, which is very true. And just 2 men work in this distillery, distilling, mashing, distilling, and filling into cask and mature the whiskey. So the amount of bottles issued by the distillery is not very high. So this particular bottling has a bottle count of 3,600, and it won't be there for very long, but sales are not that high, so perhaps a year or 2 from now you will be able to find this whiskey on the shelves. The whiskey is deep ruby in color and displays vibrant red berry fruitiness fused with spices and peat smoke. Yes, Benromach is one of the very few distilleries in the Speyside region which uses peat smoke during the drying of the malt. Yeah, that's it. Here they have this typical tin tube of Benromach, and they use it for all the wood finishes. Here they write it on it, and to have the count number of the bottles of the tubes quite high, they use a label gluing onto this metal tube, and this says Sassicaia wood finish, distilled 2004, finishing period again here 18 months, which is quite long, and helps to bring over lots of aromas from the Sassicaia wine cask into the whiskey, bottled October 2013. But quite ruby, quite dark for such a young age, 9 years old. Or 9.5 years perhaps. Yeah, the first thing I recognize in my nose is the light smokiness of the whiskey. And they tell you at the distillery during the visits that they use 7 to 8 parts per million peat smoke during the drying of the malt. So 7 to 8 ppm is not very much, but it's distinguishable in the nose of whiskey. And after a few seconds, tens of seconds, the peat smoke vanishes, goes away. Your nose gets used to this peat smoke, and then your brain says, don't look after the smoke, you know it's there, but look after other ingredients in this whiskey. And here you find vanilla, sweet, sweet vanilla, with a fresh fruitiness like peaches or apples. Perhaps a few raisins, yeah, from the Sassicaia wine. Very fruity, very light and sweet. It's well composed. It's not so strong. The peat smoke is not strong, but also the other parts of the aroma aren't that strong. Let's have the first sip. Very strong on the tongue. It's prickling. It's, yeah, kind of sharp. And this is perhaps sweet, mouth-watering, fruity, and a hint of oak wood. Not very much. Yeah, very sweet. And I think the sweetness has to come from the first fill American oak casks, ex-bourbon cask in which the whiskey was matured for the first years, and the sharpness, which went away very quickly, belongs to the pot stills, the very small pot stills. We remember the smallest distillery in the Speyside, which brings the sharpness to a whiskey, the pot still character. And then the fruitiness and this little oakiness in the back, this has to come from the finishing casks, Sassicaia casks. Yeah, the aftertaste is not too long. It's already gone, but it's, yeah, it's like a roller coaster, very smooth, and then very sharp on the tongue, but only a very short time, and then complexity arises. Sweet vanilla with fruits and a little smoke. Very interesting whiskey, not too expensive, but you have to look after it. Benromach is not very popular, and the bottle count is not that high. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned with Whisky.com.